Studio by the ICT Minister, Dr. Peya Mushelenga, to bring us up to speed in regards to the cabinet resolutions. Very good evening to you, Minister, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, viewers and listeners. I'm going to present decisions of the 21st meeting of Cabinet that was held on the 23rd of November this year. First decision: amendments to the public health measures and progress reports of various government-established clusters for combating COVID-19 in Namibia. Cabinet took note of the progress reports from various clusters and approved the recommendations proposed by clusters, and took note of the amendments to the public health measures for the period starting from the 16th of November to the 15th of December 2021 as follows. Number of public gatherings increased from 200 to 500 persons. The allowance of the isolation certificate is extended to all travelers in Namibia, while other measures remain unchanged. And the sale of alcohol be subjected to the conditions of the license issued under the Liquor Act number 6 of 1998. And Cabinet direct that public health measures remain unchanged until the resubmission of Cabinet in the year 2020, unless the COVID-19 situation in the country has changed. Second decision: Namibian citizenship for returnees from Botswana and other countries. Cabinet directed the Minister of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security to work out proposals for implementing the resolution from the 6th SWAPO Party Extraordinary Congress held in 2018 regarding the Namibian citizenship for returnees from Botswana and other countries who were displaced due to genocide, and prepare the necessary legislative amendments. Third decision: report of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly held from the 20th to the 28th of September this year at the United Nations headquarters. Cabinet took note of the report of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly and directed line ministries, offices and agencies to implement the relevant decisions emanating from the General Assembly. And Cabinet further directed the Office of the President, that is the Namibian Investment Promotion Development Board, to follow up on interest shown by investors in the Namibian economy. Fourth decision: report on the 39th Ordinary Session of the Executive Council of the African Union, held from the 14th to the 15th of October this year in Addis Ababa. Cabinet took note of the report of the 39th Ordinary Session of the Executive Council of the AU and directed the following offices, ministries and agencies to take action and follow up on issues in their areas of responsibility as follows. Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation to implement the decisions and resolutions as well as the recommendations contained in the report through the African Union Southern African Development Community, that is AU SADC National Committee. To participate in the retreat of the Executive Council aimed at deliberating on emerging issues related to the implementation of Agenda 2063, scheduled to take place in the year 2022. Ministry of Education and Arts and Culture was directed to ensure that Namibia accedes to the Charter for African Cultural Renaissance, which is one of the AU key instruments on culture. Ministry of Finance was directed to actively participate in the budget meetings of the AU, as well as the joint sitting of the Ministerial Committee on Scale of Assessment and F15 in its capacity as a member of the AU Committee of 15 Ministers of Finance, and to ensure timely payments of the assessed contributions of Namibia to the AU budget to avoid sanctions. Ministry of Health and Social Services, Agriculture, Water and Land Reform were directed to ensure the implementation of the theme of the year 2022 and report on progress made at the national level for submission to the AU Commission. And Cabinet approved the appointment of the Minister of Agriculture as a high-level national champion on nutrition at national level to champion the implementation of the theme of the year 2022 on nutrition and ensure its full implementation. Cabinet also supported that Namibia remains vigilant and continue to engage with like-minded countries, both at regional and continental levels, to vehemently reject the granting of the observer status to the State of Israel to the AU, which is contrary to the objectives of the continental body. Cabinet directed that political consultations must be initiated at SADC level to reaffirm the decision taken in August, as some members are clearly inflicted on the matter, including the current chairperson of SADC. Cabinet supported the position of the Southern African Caucus with regard to the principle of rotation and hold the elections of the President of the Pan-African Parliament before the end of the year under the auspices of the AU Commission. And Cabinet further supported the operationalization of the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, given the critical role the center continues to play in the fight against COVID-19. Fifth decision: discontinuation of Project 2013, which seeks to train a number of health professionals categories by the Ministry of Health and Social Services. Cabinet supported the proposal of the Ministry of Health to discontinue providing all pre-service training comprised of the following: medical and health-related training courses outside Namibia, to consider a gradual phased approach; registered nurses courses offered by the Ministry of Health and Social Services, that is diploma, training, and bridging course at the ministry's training centers; and sub-professional training courses offered by the Ministry of Health and Social Services. And Cabinet directed the Ministry of Higher Education, Training, and Innovation to engage academic institutions to offer such training programs that the Ministry of Health and Social Services will discontinue. And Cabinet approved that the fellowship assistance by the Ministry of Health and Social Services be put on hold and use the Human Resource for Health Strategic Plan to guide the field of specialization and advanced training needs requirements. Cabinet also directed the Ministry of Health to secure funding for the current students under the sponsorship of the ministry until they complete their training, and further directed the ministry to engage NASFAF through the Ministry of Higher Education and submit the funding needs for allowance and medical insurance of students training abroad, and the NASFAF takes over funding thereof. Cabinet supported that the Ministry of Health should redeploy the 41 teaching and 45 administrative staff of the Registered Nurse Diploma Project under the Training Directorate of the Ministry of Health and Social Services to strengthen clinical mentoring, continuous training, and staff development in line with applicable public service regulation. Cabinet also supported that the local tertiary institutions be allowed to use the teaching facilities owned by the Ministry's Health and of Health's facilities, training facilities, in order to train and mentor the staff during continuous education sessions, and to be used by clinical instructors during student attachments from various local universities. Priority should be given to UNAM and NAST. Sixth decision: report of the Third Italy-Africa Ministerial Conference held from the 7th to the 8th of October. Cabinet took note of the report of the Third Italy-Africa Ministerial Conference held in Italy and directed that the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation should finalize the draft General Framework Agreement and the draft Memorandum of Understanding on Diplomatic and Political Consultations between the two countries, and ensure the implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Italian city of Peya and Keetmansop municipality. Cabinet further directed that the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade should work towards signing the Memorandum of Understanding on skills development and training in natural stones industry with that country. Seventh decision: back to office report and proposed areas of bilateral cooperation with the Arab Republic of Egypt in the area of agriculture, water, and irrigation sectors. Cabinet took note of the report or outcomes of the 2021 Cairo Water Week held in October 24th to the 28th in Cairo, and approved that the Republic of Namibia enter into various areas of cooperation with the Arab Republic of Egypt in the agricultural sectors, as well as the related capacity building initiatives in both sectors. Cabinet also mandated the Ministry of Agriculture to commence with the preparatory steps for the operationalization of the proposed cooperation through, among others, hosting the technical diagnostic mission from Egypt, assess the capacity of the Central Veterinary Laboratory, and develop a draft memorandum of understanding for the envisaged cooperation in consultation with relevant stakeholders. The eighth decision is about the proposed strategies for readmission and re-registration of suspended public service medical aid, that is SEMAS, members who were pensioners. Cabinet approved in principle the proposed strategies for readmission and registration of suspended SEMAS members who are pensioners as follows. Category 1, retirees who fail to reapply for SEMAS membership. The proposed actions are to deviate and provide amnesty for the affected 15,162 retirees and allow the affected retirees to reapply for SEMAS membership, and consider payment arrangements and conditions of the monthly contributions in arrears as per the amnesty provision and activate the benefits. Second category, permanent residents outside the borders of Namibia. For those ones, the actions are to terminate SEMAS membership for those who reside outside Namibia, and terminate SEMAS membership for those who were referred to specialized medical treatment outside the country and have taken up permanent residency outside the country, and all SEMAS members who are to be referred to other countries due to lack of specialized medical treatment in Namibia should seek the necessary approval in terms of the said procedures before commencing with treatment outside the country, and SEMA members and benefits remain applicable within the boundaries of Namibia. Third category, retirees who withdraw pension benefits from JPF. The proposed action is to change the current rule that sets the membership to government institution pension fund as a prerequisite to SEMAS going forward. Retrospective application of the rule is not supported. Fourth category, pensioners who retired before independence, children and spouse annuitants. The proposed action is to deviate to allow other methods of payment, and the rule change to allow other methods of payment. Fifth category, retirees who were not SEMAS members for mandatory 2 years. The proposed action are not to deviate due to the risk involved and to terminate membership. Cabinet endorsed that an amnesty to be consistently granted to all pensioners who are to be registered as members of SEMAS, and that Treasury be approached to consider the matter under the State Finance Act number 31 of 1991. And Cabinet further directed the Ministry of Finance to ensure prudent management of all SEMAS members' contribution and to strengthen cooperation with JPF to expedite the processing of retirees' monthly deductions for medical aid and income tax. The ninth and last decision is reaccreditation of the Environmental Investment Fund of Namibia to the Green Climate Fund. Cabinet approved that the Environmental Investment Fund of Namibia should proceed with the execution of the legal instruments for their reaccreditation and commences with the project development for submission to the Green Climate Fund by March or April next year, in line with the priorities identified under the 2021 updated National Determination Contribution. These were the cabinet resolutions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mushelenga. Highly appreciated.
Yes, my pleasure.
Tuning in, you're watching the news.